Yo, what is good, YouTube? It's your boy Jay-Z Bottom Lip, and today I have a highly anticipated video for you guys that you guys been asking me to make for a very long time. It's among the few of the videos that you guys recommended to me to make for you guys. So today we're going to be talking about how to take your turn, how to keep your turn, and how to take your turn back. Those are the three things that I'm going to teach you today. In order to understand those three things, there's also a few key things that you need to also understand in order to understand those three things. So the few things that you guys will understand in this video is like how to mimic what I do and then apply it. But you can do that with your character as well. It doesn't have to be my character in the examples that I'm showing you. It's just utilize what I'm saying and apply it basically. So in order to understand the three, take your turn back. So it'll be take your turn, keep your turn, and take your turn back. There's a few things you're going to need, obviously, right? So the first one is going to be matchup knowledge. Matchup knowledge is very important because you'll know how to take your turn accordingly, how to keep your turn accordingly, and how to take your turn back accordingly. And we're going to apply that to everything that I say accordingly, right? So we have match knowledge. Then we also have cameo usage. Then we also have good staggers, spacing, and then we also have challenging and being defensive, establishing a game plan, whether it's zoning, rush down, or spacing, which leads to with punishing. And these are the two characters that I have on the screen right now, which is Kenshi and Kitana. We all know that we love to say like Scorpion's bad and he doesn't have any 50-50s. This is a lot of people's arguments, right? I still believe that Scorpion is S tier or amongst the top 10 best characters in the game. But a lot of people who play the character would say he doesn't have 50-50s. So I'm about to prove you wrong on why 50-50s does not matter. So right here we have Kenshi and we also have Kitana. We understand that both of these characters don't really have 50-50s, nor do they have really strong 50-50s. Kenshi does not really have a startup overhead by itself, except for his special move, which is reactable. Then he also has a low. So knowing that, just block low against this character and react high. That's it. If you get hit by his special move, that's on you. But at the same time, you can just punish it. So it's high risk, high reward for him. So a lot of times they won't go for that as much, and they won't go for it at all, actually. With that being said, Kitana doesn't have any overheads really, except for like that one kick where she does multiple kicks and then it leads into the one that you can flawless block and that leads into a hard knockdown. She doesn't have anything that leads into an overhead where she gets her turn or she can start her combo off with an overhead. It goes the same way with a low. You'll never see a Kitana do low. Most of the time, both of these characters are going to try to whiff punish you. They're going to do certain staggers, backdash into back two with Kitana. Kenshi's going to do backdash into whatever it is into forward two. That's about it. And then from there, that's when they extend their combos and so on and so forth. But a lot of times these two characters establish their dominance over you by good spacing. So understanding that, you should also understand that, you know, Scorpion doesn't need 50-50s. And if you need 50-50s, it says a lot about you. But anyway, these characters all have different play styles. You can narrow it down to the three that I just said, which is zoning, rush down, and spacing. I'm not going to go down the line, but I'm pretty sure you'll have a great example of all the characters and how they play based upon the three examples that I have given you. So let's get right into this video. Try to make this video very short, cut and dry, so a lot of people don't beat me up in the comments. Also, if you guys can leave a like and comment, be very appreciative. And if you guys have feedback for me, make sure that you know what you're talking about. And then sometimes word it a little way where I can understand it a little better. But anyway, again, let's get right into this video. So when it comes to taking your turn accordingly, you need to know matchup knowledge. So let's just go straight down all the things that I said, right? And we'll use Kenshi for an example, right? So Kenshi likes to backdash into buttons, right? So this is matchup loss. Understanding that Kenshi like doing things like this, he'll do this, backdash into that, so on and so forth, right? So let's say that I was playing Kenshi and he did this string, right? Let's just go straight down the line. Most of the time he's going to backdash, right? So let's do the whole thing. This is called matchup knowledge right now. Right? So hold on. I'm trying to get it to where right? So let's say you try to take your turn back right after you did that. This could be matchup knowledge because you understand that you can take your turn back. But if you take your turn back wrong, he can hit you with that. And you'll die for it basically right there. But imagine if it was forward 2. The computer must have did it wrong. But imagine if he did forward 2 because he has good movement, which is also part of matchup knowledge. And you should understand that Kenshi has good movement. Most of the time, he's going to whiff punish you to open you up. If he has Sub-Zero cameo, if he doesn't have Sub-Zero cameo and he's using Cyrax, most of the time he's going to do a string into Sentos, into cameo to allow him to pull out Sento, which is, you know, kind of OD in my opinion, but it's still part of understanding the matchup in itself. Then the next one would be cameo usage. If you understand that your opponent already used his cameo for whatever reason, you should understand how you should play the matchup from there, right? So if my opponent has half a bar, I understand that he's not going to right away use it again, depending on the cameo that he's using. A lot of times you can do it with Striker, you can do it with Goro, but it's all about matchup knowledge because you understand that he's going to want to build a little more cameo bar before he uses his second half of it. So he knows that if he needs it in a situation, he'll be able to get it back in time for that situation in particular. Good staggers are also part of keeping your turn. Keeping your turn is very important because it allows you to chip at your opponent. It allows you to put them in situations that they don't want to be in, and they start to panic, which is wake up grab, wake up jump, wake up with super special move, and so on and so forth. If you know how to apply the right amount of good staggers and spacing. So a lot of times you can do things like this with Kitana. When you're moving in and out in your opponent's face, it doesn't give them enough time to understand what you're doing. So a lot of times when you get really close to your opponent, they think you're going to grab them. They might down poke. So when you're moving in and out like this in your opponent's face, it becomes a little tricky for them to know when to take their turn. So there'll be a slight hesitant to take their turn back. And you can apply this when keeping your turn because it gives them not enough, I guess, information on you and what you're trying to establish at the time being for them to want to press. So that's very important. Spacing is important as well because when you're spacing out your opponent, he's trying to figure out what you're doing. So when you're walking in and out like this from this range, he's looking for certain things in particular. And if you don't use that, you can abuse that, if that makes sense. So like, for an example, if I'm sitting here, my opponent knows that I'm going to throw fans. If I don't throw fans, but I'm sitting here baiting as if I am going to throw fans, I can actually dash in twice into a grab. I can dash into a shimmy. I can dash into a sweep. I can dash into a grab, and so on and so forth. This is called conditioning and good spacing as well. Because what happens is when I'm playing like this, throw a couple fans, but then I don't throw a couple fans, he's anticipating something that I no longer want to do anymore, but he's still anticipated because this is part of condition. I want him to believe that I'm going to throw fans in order for me to go in and shimmy him and grab him and so on and so forth. So that's very important to understand as well. This is part of keeping your turn because your opponent isn't applying any pressure. You are the oppressor. So your opponent is looking at how to counter it. So when you're not zoning as much, when you're just sitting here doing this all day and you just limit it to maybe one fan and then dash in and dash out, throw another fan, see what he does. And it goes the same way with Kenshi as well. Kenshi can do the exact same thing. Kenshi can do this where he's just doing this because you understand it is punishable. But if I keep baiting that you're trying to up block, you'll be a little slight hesitant to want to up block, or you'll be anticipating the up block, which allows me to move closer to you, further away from you. Challenging and defense is part of taking your turn back, but also taking your turn. So challenging is also very important sometimes because it allows you to understand that you're not going to be conditioned or you're not going to allow your opponent to mash. And I like to use Kitana for this example because most of the strings she has, she's -7 on. And you'll probably wonder, okay, well, -7, she may be able to take her turn back. Kind of, sort of, but not necessarily. depending on the spacing, first of all, then second, depending on the frame data, you should understand that if a move is -7, they cannot mash, no matter what. But on the contrary, if my opponent had a move like this that is -7 at a certain range, I still can't take my turn back. See how this is changing the frame data? The closer I am to her, it becomes minus, right? But the further away I am from her, it becomes less minus, right? See how it turns to -8? Right here is -6, right? So you should understand that when she uses this move in particular, it's not necessarily your turn because you don't have any move that allows you to dash up and press a button, because you know that this move in particular is 14 frames. Then on top of that, your fastest move is a high and you can't get in there in time to press. So they're most likely going to whiff punish you. So you would want to do certain things in particular that will condition them to think that you were going to go in to punish them or take their turn back. But then they try to whiff punish you and you whiff punish them. So it will look something like this, right? That's her flow chart. Boom. And you can punish that accordingly. Hold on. Right? You can also do this. Once you get comfortable with the spacing and timing of seeing her forward too, you can punish it accordingly. However you choose. I think that's it for what I want to explain on that. Okay, and then the next one that I think is very important, very important actually, is establishing a game plan, which is, again, like I said, zoning, rush down, spacing, which is considered like with punishing or so. Establish how you want to play. For an example, if I'm playing Kenshi and I decide to zone, which I don't recommend that you do, but you still can do it to a certain extent. If you wanted to zone with Kenshi, you can do that. This comes with matchup knowledge, cameo usage, good stagger, spacing, challenging, defense, and again, like I said, establishing game plan. So if I want to zone, I understand the matchup knowledge because I understand that Kitana doesn't have anything to punish if she decides to up block my overhead. So this allows me to play the matchup a certain way. But if my opponent decides to use something that counters my projectile, which could be Sub-Zero cameo, because they don't want to deal with it, then I have to understand that the matchup may change and I no longer may be able to zone as much as I need to. That's why, in my opinion, it's very important to understand and learn zoning, rush down, and spacing so you can use them according to how your opponent is playing. And then on a timely matter, you can also change your playstyle up and game plan up at a fly, and you can switch it from zoning to rush down so you can apply a certain pressure and according to their cameo and how they're playing as well. So again, let's talk about the matchup. So she can't punish this in particular, which allows me to play like this very annoying playstyle. Then, since this move is so slow that if I dash in, I can backdash out of my opponent face in time before they're able to really necessarily understand what they're anticipating, because I've been doing this so much that when I walk in, I walk out, I do it again. I walk in, I walk out, I do it again. So the one time that I walk in, I don't walk out, I grab. This is establishing game plan and also conditioning, because now if I do it enough that when I walk in and I walk out, I grab, or if I walk in and I grab, if I walk in, I walk out, and then I walk in, I walk out, I walk in, I walk out, do this, I walk in, I walk out, I walk in and walk out, grab, or I could walk in and walk out, walk in, staring in their face, and then I can back off, walk in, walk out, staring in their face, back up, back up. This is part of conditioning, because there's no really reason to doing it unless you want to condition your opponent in a way that they respond to how you're playing. So if I'm walking in and I'm walking out, I grab them. You can start applying something called shimmying, where if they notice that every time that you get very close, you grab, you can now stare in their face long enough where you can do forward 2-2 and punish them for it. I'm going to find you a video where I very much so condition a guy off of just shimmying him in his face as much as possible. Um, just I'll show you guys at the end, but just keep it. Just follow me for a little bit. I'm sorry if I'm rambling on all over the place, but this is part of like spacing and zoning, because what in reality what I'm doing is I'm conditioning them off of the fact that I want to zone them and play off my overhead. And then the time that I do get close, I can walk in and I can walk out into a forward two sometimes, where they think that they can try to whiff punish me for getting close. Like as I'm getting close to them, they might anticipate using a move. So by the time that I get close, I can walk in out and then I can whiff punish them as well, which is very important to understand and use. This is part of spacing, because if my opponent is doing something like that, where my opponent's doing something like this, walk in, walk out, then try to get close, right? I can take my turn back accordingly. We're both playing footsies. I get hit, and then I can punish that, depending if he overcommits or not. You can still up block it. And you can do things like that. So a lot of times you'll in order to understand your opponent, you're gonna have to give up your turn sometimes just to see how they play. And understanding if something like that whiff, then you can take your turn back accordingly as well. And then when you start getting hit and you don't want to deal with certain things, you can do counter zoning as well. Well, now they have to think a little more. So now you two are actually now fighting, throwing projectiles, getting close to one another, trying to get close. This is called spacing. This is called neutral, because we're trying to get in on one another, but we don't want to just automatically go in right away, because that's how you get blown up on a high level. You'll start to get down checked, like things like this in particular. Your opponent's trying to get in, but then also that's how you get hit. If you have someone like Kenshi, and then this leads to pressure, this leads to taking your turn back accordingly, this leads to a lot of things in particular, but I'll save that for another video. But I just wanted you guys to understand what it would look like. Kinda, I'm trying to use the AI and use myself to fight. It's kind of hard, but I hope you guys get a general idea, understanding of what it looks like when you're trying to take your turn, keep your turn, and take your turn back accordingly. Those are very important. And then again, what I always try to get everyone to understand when it comes to learning the game or getting better at the game is have a flow chart. Please have a flow chart. I can't stress it as much. I don't care what anyone tells you. They can say a whole bunch of things, but understanding your flow chart. Please, for the love of God, understand your flow chart and how you want to play. You can have a flow chart for zoning. You can have a flow chart for rushdown. You can have a flow chart for spacing. I know everyone's probably going to ask me questions, and that's fine, about what exactly does flowchart mean, or what are you trying to say about flowchart, or how can I establish a flowchart? A lot of times the best way to understand flowchart is to look it up or watch my old videos. But then even if you don't understand that, the best way to understand a flowchart is watch pro players. Watch players at the highest level play around with certain moves in particular, see how they use them, and then after they use that string, what do they do? Do they block? Do they take their turn back? Do they whiff punish? Do they back up? Do they jump? These are things that you have to pay attention to, because this helps you establish a flow chart. And everyone has a flow chart. I don't care what anyone tries to sit here and tell you. Everyone has a flow chart. It's just sometimes you don't want to abuse your flow chart too much because you become very predictable. But it's good to have a flow of way how you want the match to go and how you want to play. This can lead to multiple things like conditioning and so on and so forth. I tried to not make this video too long, but I hope this is helpful when it comes to taking your turn back, keeping your turn, and establishing all different types of play styles to help yourself according to keeping your turn, taking your turn, and taking back your turn. I also wanted to show you guys some videos that may be helpful if my explanation isn't that great. I wanted to give you guys some examples. I'll probably have some more examples in the future. Also, guys, please join the Discord. If I talk about something in particular in my videos that you guys are confused about, just come in the Discord and ask. I answer everybody's question. No one's question goes unanswered. Even if you look at my YouTube, I pay attention and read every message there is or comment there is. Sometimes it might take up to 5 days, 3 days, 1 day, maybe a second, 2 minutes, whatever. But I always reply regardless of the fact. Unless you just say something that's just like, there's no need to reply to it. 9 out of 10, I'll even say something in particular just to let you know that I did read your message. But anyway, I have some videos for you guys to look at. But again, I appreciate you guys watching this video. It means a lot to me if you guys like and comment. It's your boy Jay-Z Bottom Lip. I'm out. I wanted to show you guys this gameplay because this is how you keep your turn and use your cameos usage correctly. Basically, I knock him down to the ground. Didn't get my punish here. I stagger him. I go for the lantern around my head, keep pressuring him. I don't go for full combo here because my lantern stays over my head for X amount of time. Right here, I call my cameo. My turn again. Now I can extend my combo, go for lantern again to keep my turn just because my cameo's not here. So I can do certain things like this in particular if he wanted to challenge. And basically this is how you keep your turn. I want you guys to see this so you understand how to take your turn back, and also never doubt yourself in thinking that you can't run around even when you're down the life lead. So basically here, he already spent both his cameo bars. Right there, he tried to EX into projectile, so if I woke up, I would have got hit, or it wouldn't have hit him. Right here, I'm down, but I took my turn back accordingly. I was patient, didn't hit confirm. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Waited for his cameo to go away. Now he can't really do anything. Go for a hard knockdown with the thing around my head. I baited that. So 4-2-1, you can armor through. It will trade sometimes, but yeah. Didn't think I would do that right there. That jails and to GG. So this is really how you can keep your turn back, but also how to take your turn back accordingly as well. Because after he did Eagle, he was thinking about doing something else and didn't think I would pressure him. So he died for it. Also, sometimes this is also part of matchup knowledge. Your opponent will be committed to a play style that they don't know how to change on the fly. And right here, see how he did a down one right there? There was no need to down one there. I knew he would down one there because I know the matchup. So I figured I'd backdash into forward 2 and kill him for it. So this is part of matchup knowledge and knowing when to take your turn back. This right here is part of matchup knowledge and knowing how to keep your turn back accordingly and play the matchup correctly as well. So you'll see how I play this matchup. I understand that he could wake up here. He jumps, he dies for it. Try to wake up buttons, didn't hit confirm, didn't believe that he would wake up button there. Grab him, keep my pressure going, keeping my turn as well. He tried to wake up down one, can't do that against my back throw. Into GG. I wanted to show you guys what it looks like when you don't take your turn back accordingly. Yeah, he's whiffing buttons, does that. He can take his turn back, but he didn't use the right buttons.
Get in there, Janet.
Didn't see me inside the bubble, try to press a button, then he died for it. But that's basically what I have for you guys. I appreciate you guys watching. It's your boy Jay-Z Bottom Lip. I'm out.